Hello, my name is Jewel Terrell. I am a 48-year-old African American woman living with HIV. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about my story, and I'm also here to tell you the driving force behind my story. The driving force behind my story is to educate, encourage, empower, and emancipate women who feel like they don't have a voice, especially those women who are heterosexual and in the African American community. I'm here to be their voice, those who are afraid because of the stigma surrounding HIV and AIDS, who sit every day in silence, and some are really basically wasting away because they are afraid to talk about HIV. They are afraid to tell their families, friends, that they are positive. I come from a two-parent, middle-class family. I'm college educated. I'm the youngest of 8 children. When I never thought I would be in this situation. I thought I did everything the right way. No, I did not wait until I got married to have sex. But I was careful. And I didn't have very many sexual partners. I left my parents' home when I got married. The man that I married, I thought that he was my knight in shining armor. I never thought that he would do anything to bring harm to me or anything that would hurt me. Little history behind how I found out that I was positive. I lost my mother in January of 2002. February of 2003, I lost my sister. We buried her February 8th. I lost one of my sisters. We buried her February the 8th on my brother's birthday. 3 weeks to the day after we buried my sister that's next to me, my dad had a massive heart attack and passed away. So I was under already a massive amount of stress, grief, and I wasn't coping very well. But I was holding it together for my older sisters and my brother and my nieces and nephews. 3 weeks after my dad passed away and we buried my dad, I found out that my husband had been cheating on me. And I never knew to the extent that he was cheating on me until after all of the events occurred. One of the things that happened was that because I wasn't dealing very well with the grief of the loss of my family members, my husband became angry. He didn't know how to handle the tears and the crying. He just didn't know how to deal with somebody that was depressed and going into the spiral down like I was going. So my husband became physically, emotionally, verbally abusive. I mean, to the point where I had to go to the emergency room several times. Things got so bad to the point that I stayed with him after I found out that he had been cheating. One of the things that did happen is that when I told him that if we had sex again, we would have to use a condom, that brought on more violence. I don't know why, but it did. So actually, October 5th of 2007, I had enough of the physical and especially the physical abuse. I had enough and I left. A year later, I was coming home from a business trip and I got sick on my business trip. And at that time, because after I left my ex-husband, I went to a college reunion, and I got back in touch with my college sweetheart. We were both in the process of going through a divorce. So we moved in together. I already had the place. And so he just moved in with me. He was basically my support. And I was a support to him as well. But after that particular business trip, I came home and I wasn't feeling well. And he told me, he said, well, I tell you what, once you get your bath and you lay down, I'm going to go cook. And if you're not feeling well, I'm going to take you to the emergency room. Well, when I woke up, when he called me for dinner, I could barely go from the bedroom to the bathroom without breathing, let alone get down the stairs. So he decided to take me to the emergency room. I'm going to kind of speed up through some of the things, we didn't know what was going on. I knew that I was short of breath, and they ran a lot of tests, and one of the tests came back and they said it looks as if you have leukemia. Your white blood cells are really high. There is some infection in your body. So they had a lot of doctors coming in. They had the phlebotomist and all coming in, taking blood and running tests and x-rays, chest x-rays. And then they found out that I had pneumonia that was trying to start at the bottom of my lung, but it was like they caught it in time, so it didn't come into fruition. But they noticed that I had a little pneumonia on my right lung, the lower half of my right lung. And so then they sent in another doctor, and this particular doctor was an HIV specialist. He didn't tell me at first. He said, there's some infection in your body, and we need to find out where it is so that we can start you on treatment tonight. And he said, the test that I want to run is an HIV test. So he ran the test. They got the test ran, and it seemed like it was forever before they came back into the room. And when he came back, he confirmed my worst nightmare. I was HIV positive. I was not able to go home. I wanted to go home that night, but I was not able to go home that night because of the fear that the pneumonia would envelop both of my lungs or whatever. So I was in isolation for 2 days, basically suicide watch. I had the right nurses, the right doctors there. They assured me that HIV was no longer a death sentence. And my college sweetheart was there throughout the whole thing. And he stayed there with me, nurturing me back to health and being my support. Now it has, fast forward, it's now 12 years later. And I have been telling my truth with the Care for Me Services Speak Your Truth team now for seems like 3 or 4 years now. And the more I tell my story, the more empowered I get. The more empowered I get, the more I can reach other ladies and young ladies and men and tell them that HIV does not have a look. It does not have a socioeconomic status. You cannot look at a person and tell that they are positive. So therefore, you have to protect yourself, because there are going to be others that won't be as honest as I am. And I tell them that. And I make sure they understand that you are responsible for yourself and your own sexual health. And I know that in my case, being that I was married, you would hope that your spouse would protect you. But I have to say that the marriage bed is no longer sacred anymore. Nobody is thinking about the vows that they took when they stood before God. And I don't have any hard feelings towards my spouse anymore. I have forgiven him. I've not gotten the full apology that I deserve, but at least I know that I don't harbor any hard feelings towards him. And it has been a long journey. It has been a positive journey. I don't ever want people to feel sorry for me because I am a survivor. I'm a survivor. And I am here to help others survive, just like I am, not only to survive, but to win and live life, because we have so much life to live. Thank you for listening to my story, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.